Hello, the troopers. Welcome back to General Economics Bunker. I'm not even sure that this interview actually happened, so I'm glad that I got video evidence for it. I want to start off by saying thank you to Ahmed for making this kid of the prequels very, very happy. It was definitely a surreal experience. So if you can, stick around after the interview, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But for now, I leave you with the incredible Ahmed Best. Well, hello there, troopers, and welcome back to General Economics Bunker. Today we are here at Rebel Scum Con in Dallas, Texas, and we're sitting here with just an absolute legend, guys. I'm proud of myself. I'm not, passing out right now, just on the excitement of being here, man. So we got an actor, a teacher, and like I said, just an absolute legend. So today we're talking here with Ahmed Best, who is just about the most popular guy here in the show, guys. Let me tell you. So welcome, first of all. How's the show been? How's Texas treating you?
Yeah, great. Really, really good so far. Everybody here is so very nice. So it's wonderful. And I get to catch up with folks who I haven't seen in a long time. So it's
Absolutely.
been wonderful.
And did you get to have any barbecue last night?
You know what? I didn't. I was looking for a good barbecue place, but I'm going tonight.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's kind of a must, right, when you're here.
Yeah, you got to do Texas barbecue while you're here.
Absolutely. So, can I ask? I've seen you, today and yesterday interact with the fans, right? But I wanted to get your perspective. What would you say is your favorite part of doing this kind of shows?
Well, I don't get to do these too often.
Right, right.
A lot of the reasons why is because I'm always working on something.
Sure, yeah.
And either that or I'm teaching. So it's very challenging for me to find the time to do these things. So it's really cool every once in a while when I get out and I get to really see how much everyone loves this
Absolutely.
galaxy and loves everyone who's been a part of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my favorite is all of the kids.
Yeah,
you
right.
know. I just really love all the kids.
Absolutely.
And how this whole brand new generation is
Yeah.
just falling in love with this type of storytelling. So it's just wonderful.
So I want to segue into speaking of the children, right? So you're a teacher, right?
Yes.
So I just want to hear your thoughts on how does that feel to be able to share, your very specific, right, life experience and professional experience with the next generation.
I think it's really important. I think teachers have the most honorable job
Absolutely.
to be able to pass knowledge on. It's very much a tenet, I think, in Star Wars.
Right, right.
Just the ability to pass on generationally.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jar Jar was very much this generational
Sure.
character. It was very much for young people. It was very much for kids. So I really hold teachers in high regard. I mean, I teach at the
Absolutely.
university level,
Yep.
which is a little bit easier, I think, than
I agree.
teachers who teach K through 12. I
Yeah.
think teachers who teach K through 12 are superheroes.
Yeah.
And I really want them to know and then to be inspired
Absolutely.
when it comes to passing on that generational knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. I did high school teaching for 2 years, so
Right.
yeah, I can tell that I agree. I think
Yeah.
university level it might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, they want to be there for the most
Exactly,
part.
yeah. Which is already a huge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And they're gaining skills to try
Yes.
to get employment, and it's very it's more specific.
Exactly.
And at USC where I teach a master's program.
Right.
So they really want to.
I was gonna say that you really got.
They
the-
really want to be there, so it's a little bit easier for
Absolutely.
me. Although there is a lot you have to get through,
Sure.
and there's a lot of skepticism. But when they finally get it,
Yeah.
they finally understand like what the whole thing is all about. There's no better feeling. It's
Yeah,
actually quite
absolutely.
a selfish feeling for me.
Well, I don't know if you can call it selfish when you are, like I said, you're helping, shape that next generation, right, of filmmakers, of actors, So that's pretty selfless too, in my eyes. So, thank you for doing that. Again, I'm sure your students are thrilled to have, that kind of knowledge, imparted on them.
Yeah.
But, going back a little bit, maybe more than a little bit, but you were growing up, right? You were a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
You liked Star Wars, as
Loved
as
it.
a, yeah, as a young kid, right? But I wanted to see, was there any other sort of franchise that that you can remember that really like captured your imagination as well?
Yeah, I was a huge Star Trek fan
Oh, there you
as
go.
well. Like
Okay.
enormous Star Trek fan.
Right.
My parents were big Star Trek
Oh,
fans.
really? Nice.
Yeah, I mean, growing up black in America, I think everyone saw a future in Star Trek where
Absolutely.
black people existed.
Right. Right.
And, Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura,
Yes.
was a wonderful actor on Broadway. She was like an actor, she was
Right.
a dancer, she was a singer, she could do
Yeah, I
everything.
was
She
gonna
was
say
a
she could do
triple
everything,
threat.
yeah.
And she didn't really want to do Star Trek.
Sure.
And it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who said, you have to do it
Right.
because we as a people need to see ourselves
Sure.
in the future. So that story, is pretty well known in the black community. Not a lot of people outside of it know. They just think
Right.
Uhura was like just
Sure. Just
the
cast it that way. Right.
interstellar, translator.
Right. Right.
But there was so much bigger in that. And then later on, with Next Gen, seeing LeVar Burton, who is a friend,
Yes.
played Geordie LaForge, and Whoopi Goldberg, who was like my hero as a stage actor.
Right.
And seeing her play Guinan in Next Generation, it just really continued this idea that,
Sure.
yes, there are black people in the future.
Right, right.
So Star Trek was just really formative for me as not only just a sci-fi fanatic, but as someone who, is a futurist now.
Exactly.
And that's what I teach. At Stanford, I teach
Right.
a class called Inventing the Future.
Yes, that's amazing. That is, just the power of some of these properties, right? How they can influence, right, real life, and how they can, propel us to the, like you said, right, just to a better future. I hope.
Yeah.
And you've also been involved with your project. Speaking of future, right? Afrofuturism, right?
Yeah.
Where you had. A very interesting concept to me. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Afro Futures Group and Afro Rhythms from the Future. So the Afro Futures Group is a company that I started in 2017 from the Afrofuturist podcast, which
Right.
is what a podcast I did with my co-founder, Dr. Lonnie Brooks,
Right.
who is like the preeminent Afrofuturist scholar, I think,
Yeah.
in the world, and he teaches at Cal State East Bay. And he and I started the Afro Rhythm Futures Group through this game that we
Right.
created. It's a tabletop card
Yes.
game called Afro Rhythms from the Future.
Right.
And the reason why we started that game was to take these ideas of Afrofuturism, take the idea of black liberation in general
Sure.
as a teaching tool
Right.
to imagine an optimistic future. Most people who are non-white in this country lived through ancestrally a bit of an apocalypse.
Sure.
Right? And when Africans were brought here enslaved,
Right.
the only thing we had was the dream of the future.
Right.
Right? Because the present wasn't promised.
Sure.
And at any time and of the day, you could either be killed or you could have your family ripped away
Right.
from you. So the thing that we held on to was what the future could bring.
Right.
And most liberation ideas and liberation philosophies in the United States come from the African and the African American tradition,
Sure.
right? So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the justice who
Right.
passed away a few years ago, made no secret about
Yeah.
using African American liberation philosophy to create the feminist movement
Sure.
that helped liberate women from the oppression and subjugation of men. There's a reason why. And black liberation philosophy is a philosophy that frees everyone.
Right.
Right? Because what it does is it takes the tenets of what this idea is to be
Sure.
free
Yeah.
and tests it. And most of the time it wins, right? So Afro Rhythms from the Future is this game that does that. It takes these ideas and makes them universal.
Sure. That's awesome. Yeah, so very, very interesting project, guys. If you haven't checked it out, make sure that you check out Afrofuturism on their website.
Yeah,
And-
afrorhythms.com.
Exactly, and you have, a great description, I thought, of what the project really is. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. So just to wrap up, because I know you're very busy. So first of all, I really appreciate you taking the time. Second, as a kid of the prequels, as a Star Wars fan, and even just as a human being, I just want to say thank you for coming back to us. All
Thank
right,
you.
we really appreciate it. I think you've seen the love pour in. So I'm so glad that you're here. And again, thank you for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yes,
you so
sir.
much.
Bye.
Hey, Trooper. So thank you for hanging out with me after the interview. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think about it? So Ahmed was great. I think I've said that plenty of times now. He was polite, he was cheerful, he was very respectful. I basically got to hang out a little bit at his booth as he was, greeting fans and signing autographs and that kind of stuff. So I was waiting for his line to basically die down. And he had a pretty steady, flow of people wanting to meet him, and he was, he gave everybody enough time to hear their stories, to hear their questions. He would, of course, answer the questions, and especially with the kids, right? He was very good with them. Again, just telling them stories, telling them to follow, their dreams, and the importance of listening to their parents and their teachers. Again, he was great, and I think that his panels were probably among the best in the whole convention. It's pretty safe to say that this interview was the highlight for me during this event. Um, Again, as a kid of the prequels, episode 1 was the one that hooked me into Star Wars, basically. And he was a huge part of that. We all know what happened, with the backlash he received after that movie, and the dark thoughts that he had to, contend with, and some of the irreversible consequences that almost came from that. But he managed to power through, right? He found strength, in his family, in his friends, in himself, really, and he was able to break free from that. So what I want to say is, if you're struggling with mental health, if you're struggling maybe with some of these dark thoughts, you too can overcome them, okay? And who knows, maybe you get to do a panel or do an interview in the future that changes somebody's life. Thanks again for watching. Stay strong out there.